How's that? Is that any better? Hey, very good. Well, you know what happened there? I went back to the box down below, and sure enough, there was a bit of a disconnect there, and unplugged it, put it back in, and I couldn't understand why, because everything on the screen was telling me everything was good. But thanks for pointing that out, gang, and very sorry for the delay here, but welcome aboard, folks. Hope you have a great day today. And thanks for your patience. But as stated earlier, pretty busy holiday season. I'm sure you as well had as well. Hope you had a great Christmas, and wishing you a very happy new year. And again, thanks for tuning in today, and give you a little bit of a brief overview over the holidays. A bit of a busy time, obviously, for all of us, but then during that time period, I had to change offices, so we had to come in, move all my stuff out of the old office up into this new office, which is much, much better, a little more confining from the point of view of being able to record and to do some design work and the like. It's been very good, but we had to reset everything up and get new desks, new lighting, and all that. So it took some time to get that taken care of, and that's why the delay in the last 2 weeks of not going back to go live. But it's really great to be back on board, and I'm really happy that we've got it all set up. And it's really kind of cool stuff. So really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to some really interesting things taking place this year shortly. In maybe about a week or so, we've submitted some requests to go to YouTube to get some things active there. So we'll keep you posted on all those things coming along. And it's exciting. And I've got some good programs coming on in the next few weeks. I've started doing some advanced concept work, some Star Citizen material, for example, like advanced tactical fighters, and on the list will go, some more architectural work and the like as things come along. And I've also got some great landscape programs coming on board as well. So we'll keep you pretty active all the way through here. So to you, Karath Soldier, thanks very much for joining forces in DGM 87. Good to have you on board. So let's go through this, and I think a very interesting thing took place prior to the holidays. I was notified by an organization that they wanted some assistance doing an innovation center, and they had some conceptual work to take care of, and so I obviously consented and said, yeah, we'd love to help you. And they sent this along to begin with, so I'll kind of walk you through process step by step by step, how we took this thing from beginning to end, and what the results are thus far. Hey, Demetrius, how are you, man? It's good to have you on board. And by the way, Happy New Year, and thank you so much for your very kind notes over the holidays. It was tremendous. So they sent this footprint along, and they've resolved. This building is interesting. It's up in this very local area here, but it's a very large space, and everything you see, for example, in green, this area here, and all this area here, was all part of the process that they wanted to retool. And when I took a tour up there, it was really amazing because the thing is massive. You got about 20-foot ceilings, very dark and very little light. Not very conducive to being an innovation center. And the reason for this purpose for changing this basement area into an innovation center was that they do a lot of development work and conceptual 3D modeling and thinking processing. So they needed a space to go down and experiment with some of the product work that we're going to be dealing with for the international market. Very large corporation, does about $120 billion a year in profits worldwide. So very unique organization indeed. So all that to say that I sat down with them and went through the process, toured the facility and the room that we're going to work with, and man, it was massive indeed, huge. So you come off the elevators, and there's a facing wall here that to be dealt with as a graphic piece down this hallway. And then they want to insert, for example, some barn-type doors or country-type doors and some graphics on the wall, and then back to double doors, barn type doors here, and into this first half here is called their innovation center. And that's where they have a large table, some of the tables and some of the movable boards and some storage areas are in that. That was one space. Then you move down the hallway here, and then on this side was a consumer or a client lounge where they've been guessing from around the globe, and they could sit there and regroup and have meetings and the like. And then across the hall from that was another space called the preparatory or prototype lab, where they actually would build those pieces out here and test them here, and so on. So all that to say that that's basically the overview of what this whole process was all about. So and I think the interesting thing, my comment was there was a bit of an offset here in terms of from the front portion of the innovation center, from the lounge and the prototype center. I thought we'd be interested to bring all that forward and put some nice beveled doors or entryway pieces in there so you can see what that space is going to look like when you come into that innovation area. And This is all glass, some glass area here. These purple areas would be all glass as well. And then last but not least, the main entrance from to the facility would be down here in the back of the building. So there's a big hallway here and some stairwell pieces, so they want to have that addressed as well. So let me walk you through how we started here and what unfolded from step to step. So I'll keep that handy. We'll go back and refer to it. So the first sketch I did I always like to think in terms of, before I did these sketches, some little thumbnail studies about maybe 3x5 card size to get the perspective right, the view right, keeping it very simple, and knowing full well from the very beginning that this client's system, I'm working with them, not quite certain with loose, very gesturally sketches that I like to involve myself with and doing some conceptual development work. So I had to be very careful about how to really develop these first passes sketches so they could see very clearly what the idea was all about and what we were trying to convey to them. So I went from very loose little sketches for my own personality and looking at that, how to break the shape down, then taking those sketches and developing into a second pass of just thumbnail studies so they could review it. So this is what you'll see here. This is sketch one, coming off the elevator, which is here, and looking at the facing wall and the structural elements above the top in the ceiling area here. So that's what this first guy is all about. That was the entry piece coming in. The second one going down the hallway, when you turn around the corner, let's go back to this guy. When you turn the corner here, the big long hallway, and that comes through, and we put this in here, and they go back and forth. So down the hallway, they wanted to add these very exotic barrel lighting pieces. Again, the barn door, and they specialize in certain metal materials like storage drums for product worldwide that are both cardboard and metal. Just a variety of things. I mean, they've got to have about 400 lists on their product development pieces to what they're doing and what they're involved in. So very high ceilings, about maybe 8, 16, about 20-foot ceilings. Just amazingly huge area. So again, barn door, a little bit of wall space, glass area, barn door, glass area, and again a hallway down the way. Just give some perspective to the shape itself. So that's the view. That was the selected, like that one again. Now into the innovation area, which is again, let's go back to this face. This is the innovation center here, and two large, very large table. Everybody come around and construct the piece and so forth, and do some building work. Some pin boards back here, and some movable boards here, and stairs, and chairs and the like, and just odds and ends in the building. This would be the glass area and a little portion of the doorway here, so they could see what was going on in the space itself. So it was a third study we did for the Innovation Center, and they approved the view, looked pretty good. So we went into the next step, which is getting into what I refer to as a prototype lab, which is over, let me go back here for a moment, which is right in through here. This is the prototype area, where they'd come from the innovation spot, where they'd actually develop something, bring it into this area, and they begin to develop a little bit tighter process to develop the process or the system they're dealing with. Again, same thing, a lot of glass, the barn door, and back to glass again. A lot of storage shelving on the other side, on the opposite wall. Coffee center, some features table, some elements of just comfort in there. And then the two tables to work with to kind of resolve what this product was going to look like as we went down the line here. So that was approved. The next one was coming back into this lounge area. Same system, for example. This was, let's go back to this little footprint here. This is where we are here with that lounge area, and sure enough, again, barn door, glass into a back wall, television center, copy center, storage area here, sofa, tables, and some accoutrements in the space to kind of comfort the way through the whole process. So that is another view that I thought was pretty well merited for the actual sketch itself. So we put that together, and that was for the lounge. Then the unique one was, let's go back to this one. They had these offset here, if you notice. This was offset here, and this was offset here. So my suggestion was to move this wall in a bit. You come back and just severely bevel that back so you can see there's an actual break in that wall itself, so you can come down the hallway and see what that looks like. So, and those two bevels, and those two 45s would actually be barn doors for entry and egress areas here. So here we are. That was the actual footprint, and this is what the view looks like. You're coming down the hallway here. The Innovation Center's back here. Down the hallway, a lot of glass, barn door, glass to barn door. And again, notice that 45-degree angle so you can see what that element's going to look like when you come into the hallway. They bought that view. That was a good aspect to change, that bevel change in there. They thought that was a good move. And the last sketch we did was the entryway off the back of the building. which again, just qualified. Stair steps, a single barn door, a graphic on the wall, and then just some elements around that. So those are the first loose studies. From the loose studies, I tightened them down a little bit, went to this family of sketches. And once I got that all set up, I'm just going to organize this for a moment here. So once I got those all set up, I went right back in and just retuned them and tightened them down a little bit. Went back to scale 1. There was the first sketch again. There's the elevator piece coming off the elevator, looking at those pieces there. So that was part of the whole process, looking pretty good. Tightened that down a little bit, and let's go back through again. I'll just go right down the line. Second, tightened down a little bit more, where you can actually see some of the graphics on the wall, some of the detailing work, for example, on the doors and the glass, and getting a little more specific and tightening down to a little more dramatic view. And again, these very high lofted ceilings. So that was that, and got it going along here again. By the way, let's stop here for a moment. Is this making sense, everybody? Am I transferring okay, gentlemen? So far, so good? Really appreciate you being on board. Well, it's good to be back live again. I really missed not being on board, but just wait for your response here. I hope this is helping to clarify what the mission was. I'm not trying to run through it or race through it. I want to make sure that each step along the way was extremely sensitive, because when you're working with a new client, it really makes a big difference when to listen carefully what they're after. And then in this case, as I said earlier, I went through a little series of small little thumbnail sketches first to kind of get acclimated, then went to a tighter version, which is the last set I just showed you. Now this is a little bit tighter variation to kind of let them see what the view is going to look like before we went to final color. So, and that was the, this again is the innovation prototype, part of the innovation center, where they actually with a large table and working through it all. And Kilrath is so far so good. Is helping you with the case here. Are you still with us? Thank you very much if you are. Let me know how it's going here. And just turn the page here. And this again is the actual prototype center where they actually come in and build this thing where these elements are looking at, and that's what the final process will look like. And a very interesting thing to notice in some areas here, in this room, for example, innovation area, they had these very strong barrel lights over the top of the table itself, which is an interesting feature. It kind of played off of what they do from a manufacturing point of view too, so it really helped that case quite a bit. So those were barrel lighting over the top, and in some other areas in the space itself were sprinkled through it all. But then when they went to the other areas here, for example, in the prototype room, there's a halo lighting coming off the ceiling area. So these areas here that are more elliptical were actually the actual halo lighting, which is really a neat deal. Is this the first page CAD drawing that you started with? Yeah, that first page is a CAD. Yes, this one right here, for example. Let me know what I do with this thing. Somewhere in here. And I'll dig that back out here, Demetrius, and let you see what that looks like. Somewhere along the way here. As I dig it out, there we are. Yes, in sequence, that's exactly what we are dealing with. That was what I was handed to work with. They had a building footprint layout, but they didn't have the conceptual work put together. So this is what it's addressed. They preferred the concept A in a CAD setup, knowing where all the things are going to go. Then my job is to come in, and obviously was to deliver some of the sketches that we wanted to look at. No problem. You're welcome. Thank you. So right back to, let's keep this out for a moment. Again, back to the Innovation Center, probably the prototype room. Again, very, very, very large area again, but this is more of a refined area where they could take these ideas from the innovation area and move it right into the actual building of the prototype and finalize the design and move on to hopefully manufacturing. So that took care of that piece. And then the next one, a little slower process coming in here. This is the actual lounge itself. Again, a little tighter drawing. Notice again, still with that halo lighting. And along the way, two interesting things took place. The structure in the upper and the ceiling was so ominous and dark. They wanted to actually change pace a little bit here. So they asked me to come along and inject maybe some wood panels along the ceiling here to break up that dark mass area. So and that's what these represent. These floating panels were actually suspended in the area, and you'll see in the final color studies, I'll bring up a comment that I think was really critical, and I wish I'd have thought about it ahead of time, but I was under duress to get these things back in their hands for approval. So again, this is a lounge area with all the elements in it, for example, to deal with. And the last couple here is, again, this is a refined view of that beveled area in the back two areas, for example, the lounge on one side and the prototype on the other with those 45 bevels barn doors. And that's what this guy represented right here. So we had glass to bevel barn door, glass to barn door, back to glass. Then the ceiling graphics, again, notice with the same panels to kind of break up that dark space were injected into the sketch itself. So once that was taken care of, that was them. And then the last one was just kind of a more simplified shot at it here. We kind of took a lot of some of the fluff out of it and just kept it very straightforward. It's a very simple entry here, entering back here from behind, coming into this entryway down the hallway. The graphics, again, the corporate graphics, the simple barrel lighting again, and just graphically breaking up the space to give it some sort of a presence. So those really sketches, this bang of sketches really kind of wrapped up. Let me move these out of the way here. Wrapped up the first pass of getting this thing up to speed and getting some approval from the gang to proceed with some final color. And when that took place, it was interesting how it all put together. First time chat, hello, sorry for the bothering you. I want to approach you. No, thanks. Don't want to have that. So let's get that out of the way. No, thank you. So that kind of really settled the score in terms of what the whole content was. And it was really interesting to see it all. We had great communication. The person I was working through, 2 or 3 individuals, outstanding job of keeping on top of certain things. And when I delivered a sketch, we talk about certain things and certain aspects of it and pros and cons. And they were very helpful to kind of clarify what their needs were. And it made it a whole lot easier when you have good communication like that, as you all well know. Much easier to move with and getting some good streamlined input from them. So that was it for that. Let's move now from that family of sketches, the ones we just reviewed from you, the pencil series, then we went to these. These are the actual final 11 by 17s. I redrew every one of the 7 concepts we dealt with here, and let's kind of put this up in speed. There we are. Is that making sense there, gang? There we are. Here's the final color series that we did for this family of shapes and concept sketches for the Innovation Center. This one again, very simple. We needed something in the walls to kind of break up that mass, for example, a lot of blank space area. So we went back in and added the logo. Those are the barrel lighters I was telling you about. These are the wood panels that help to facilitate the breakup of the actual very dark ceilings and brought it back into some sort of warmth and reality here. And we kind of related that throughout the entire building, all 7 of the actual concepts itself, or the actual studies. So again, entry area, elevators are back here. You come off the elevator, turn down the hallway, and then right back into the basic hallway that leads you to the Innovation Center in the actual root of the room. So there's sketch number 1. I'm going to get these out of the way here. We'll just kind of stack them up. Here's the final study coming down the hallway, where you actually move into this area, which is that a marble floor? It's a nice reflection. Let me go back to these. Every floor, for example, the choice I made for the floors was a very poured, simple, stained concrete. So this is not more of a marble. It's like a dark brown, terracotta, black gray mix that kind of mixed in, and we put that down on the floor itself, Demetrius. So it wasn't really marble. It's more of a texture change, like a painted system. Then they sealed that with a high gloss finish to give you the reflection of what it might look like. So that's what that is. So thank you. Very good. This is the first sketch off the elevator. There's sketch number 2, looking down the hallway. Same floor pattern. Again, the doors, a little bit of detail work, that extremely high ceiling, that very dark ceiling overhead. And then these floating black panels, these wood panels in the actual ceiling. And I made a comment just a few moments ago too. I think if I had to do this set of sketches over again, they approved this pattern of wood, but I'd like to have seen them go much more orderly down the line and maybe go every other row and then that structural piece over the top overhead. It worked out all right for them, but I just it had a little bit of a disjointing about it that I didn't really care for. So, but hey, they're the individuals that know this space much better than I do. So that's how that came together. This is down the hallway. This is the storage. This is an IT room back here, but they wanted the same barn door process to be injected into or utilized. And down here is where that double door, this is where the glass area is. And behind that is where the innovation room is first, and behind that, the prototype center and the lounge, and then in the back door area here. So that's sketch number 2. That's the main hallway. Let's get these out of the way. This is sketch number 3. This is the actual, pardon me, the actual innovation area here. We have this very large working table, a lot of elements on top of it, and then notice the barrels are kind of supporting the table, chairs, some little either storage areas or soft seating areas here. glass barn door again. And then a lot of information back here as far as the information goes. And these are the floating boards or the movable boards were up front. And I think you can see in this sketch more than any others that I really would have preferred to have kept this, and this much more orderly. Maybe they were just maybe a row over the top of the table itself, and maybe some a change of pace on the flanks. So it'll be parallel 90 degrees and 90 degrees. It just looked too random for the actual process of the space itself. But they liked it, so can't complain. It was a very good program. Happened very quickly. And by the way, all this sketches and all this time, for example, what it's worth, it started, they were all complete within 3 days, from concept sketches, loose pencil sketches, refinement sketches, into color sketches. And I'll wait for a few moments to add one more thing here at the end, which was a real surprise to me. So, but let me know that they were happy with the job being done. So here again, this is the innovation area. So we'll come back here with this beauty. That's Innovation Plus. And then this is the actual prototype area here. Same process again. Notice this is what really caught me again. I keep looking at this and it's disturbing a little bit. I'd love to have seen these been much more. I ran out of space in the ceiling. Would have loved them in more orderly to get them down the middle of the road, or else maybe run them parallel back over here. But the space, the view changed that quite a bit. So I had to really adjust that thinking here. But again, auxiliary table, seating area, glass to board. Back to glass. A lot of storage shelving in here for materials and supplies, and maybe research and resource work. Little copy station here. Table again with the barrel supports, and just a really good functioning area here to deal with in terms of the final prototypes. So then we have that guy, and then we move on to the next one, which is the actual client lounge. They would bring individuals in from around the globe, and they wanted a space where they can actually come in and just put together some relaxation and so forth, and make a place where they could maybe think through contract work or negotiations, whatever they dealt with. A television screen back here. Again, storage areas, a lot of copier work, some graphics, and some other areas here. Barn door, glass, carpeted here, and then it's this very strong, same stain process on the floors. Demetrius kind of really worked out well all the way through. So this is the lounge area here, and then last but not least, moving in here, this is the actual view of the actual coming down the hallway. The Innovation Center is back and through. Behind this wall here is the Innovation Center, and also on the other side as well. So it's a very large area here. But you come down this main hallway. As you're walking down that hallway, you'll see that beveled entry doors, the glass areas here on both sides. This side would be the prototype room, and this side was the actual lounge area itself. So again, I think you notice again, the change of pace. It had the halo lighting in there, which is kind of nice to have as a feature. But had I to do those all over again, I'd have run those panels right down the center, or else run them the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go the other direction to keep it a little more organized. The reason being is because all the sketches were much more formal and much more organized, and I thought that by breaking it up, even though they wanted it that way, it just didn't seem to settle it properly. From my point of view. So, but nonetheless, I'm not complaining. They did an excellent job of putting it all together here. That was the actual additional sketch. And then the last one we're looking at full color was this guy here, which is the back door entry area. Again, much more simplified. The stairway goes up to the first floor, obviously the building. Logo, very simple thing on the walls, notification who you are, entry again. And then just some detailed work in the back area to get those guys put together. So let me put these back together again here, and just bring up the speed about these sketches. As I said, from beginning to end, the whole program lasted about 3 days. They wanted it back in a hurry, obviously. What else is new, right? We all experience that from time to time. What I thought was really a great program in terms of getting to know what this organization does, how they handle certain things, and what the process was from beginning to end, and what they want to develop. And so now chapter 2, this is an interesting facet that I think we'll spend a little bit of time on with you, if you don't mind. It was interesting. Once I submitted the sketches and emailed them and had them put on a zip drive and ship them down so they could put into a presentation that's coming up sometime this week with their management. They came back after I had shipped the sketches in full color and said, hey, we've got a great concept here. You've done an excellent job, and I thank them very much for that, obviously. But they said, we'd love to have you take a look at, one of our directors brought up the fact that if we're going to do this, maybe we should do a freestanding, old-fashioned barn or modern barn type building that we could put this piece in. And I thought, wow, how cool would that be? So And to make a long story short, they said, would you be willing to kind of provide for us some real rapid, maybe quick pencil sketches on what that barn or that process might look like? I said, I'd be happy to. So here we go. So from this family of sketches, from the initial thumbnails into this family of refinement studies, the point I'm trying to make here, folks, is this. And I hope I'm not trying to philosophize here. I just think it's an interesting concept or note to work with. I'm always amazed at the fact that, and quite frankly, flattered by the fact that if you do good work for good people, they'll come back and ask you to do more. They'll not forget what work you've done, how timely you are, how responsible you are, how good you are at communicating ideas, and making sure that they get what they're after. And I think, as you well know, Demetrius, over the course of time since we've known one another, somebody asks me for A, B, C, and D, I'll give them E, F, G, and H, and I. And I'll just go a little bit further. And the explanation is such that it's not trying to be arrogant about it or to control anything. It's a very simple process of stating, listen, you've given me all these options, and here's your concept, but I've taken your ideas and moved a little bit further with each one of these, and what do you think? That makes an enormous amount of difference in terms of putting it all together. So don't misunderstand the context here. I was just grateful for the fact that when this is all said and done, they came back and said, hey, one of the directors brought up this whole concept about we've got the space and the properties that we have owned and where the by the way, this manufacturing facility, this building, this company has about 1,000 acres to work with. They've got 4 buildings on the site, which is the main office. They've got a manufacturing facility, they've got a prototype facility, then they now have hopefully this innovation lab to work with. But they also have the space to maybe build a freestander. So all that to say that once that was done, these sketches are completed, and they came back and asked me to do some quick thumbnail sketches on what that potential barn, modern barn would look like. So here we go. I'm going to pass these up there. Can you see this okay? Is that clear? Is that making sense here, gang? It was a very simple footprint, which they gave me again. They showed me where they wanted this thing to go, and the actual footprint, for what it's worth here, let me see if I can grab a sheet of paper. I'll just, let me just grab, pardon me, just something here. Grab some paper. Now, the footprint that was handed to me was very simple. For example, they gave me a rough sketch that looked like basically like this. They had this, they had a primary barn area. This would be the number 1, the module here. Then they had a breezeway walking off of that thing, and a small building that's kind of adjacent off to it, off to one side doing that. So that was basically it. So this would be the primary building, and the auxiliary building here. And then off of that, they had another area here where they wanted to use as maybe a convention center or some sort of the walkway through it again. And all of that, for example, with a nice big radius walkway coming through it and into the primary area here. So in the actual building itself. So when you look at that process, what I would do here is just kind of come back in and say, here's my horizon line, and just give you a quick thumbnail sketch here. Horizon line. And he's put in context, you've got A coming in doing this. You have B off of that, which comes in the other direction, so it's going to come back and go the other way. Which is going to come back and crescendo like so. So that's A, and notice again, this building A. This would be the P. Now you're coming back up here with this little breezeway, which gives you this. Now this one comes back and goes at 90 degrees to this one, so it's again the same basic format, but a little smaller, and then it kind of collapses back onto this horizon line. And now you have this. So you've got that, a breezeway to work with. So there's A and B, and you've got this connector coming off of this into that. Now the trick is to take this shape with that footprint, so there's, and again, there's A prime auxiliary. So that's what the basic format looks like here in rough sketch. And when you come back in, now you start to assign barn type character. Off the center line, break it to the upper. Take that back in perspective, take that back, run that through, add that to it, come back in again, find your perspective center, barn type, break that up, bring that through, and before you know it, you've got a whole series of pretty neat looking things here. That does that. That comes back, gives a little bit of this. If you have some cupolas on this thing, put that cupolas in place, put those on, put a little bit of pick on top of those guys. Again, notice see how quick that's coming together? And I think what I'm getting at here, folks, and I hope this is not something that we're looking at wasting a lot of time. Let's go back and get this center line in here. Mansford, Mansard, break, break, okay, slope, and back into perspective. Center line to center line. Then again, notice out here, you've got this very large rotunda coming into it. That's a roadway. There's your center line here. That guy up to speed. There's your entrance area. This comes out, and if they want to add something to that, now you come out in the other direction with an element that does this. That has maybe a simple peak to it. And then all of a sudden, you've got these little weather vane things. You've got another cupola coming off of this thing. And again, look at that. All of a sudden, you've got a really neat little composition piece here based on primary, auxiliary, and auxiliary. So there we are. It's very loose itself. Then you put this in scale, and you start to put in some of the things you're dealing with as far as colors and so forth, or tree lines. Put a little bit of texture in these guys, real loose. This is what I started. This is what I was referring to earlier on in the commentary about when I started this process. I went through a whole series of little small sketches like this, kind of get a feel for what I was looking at. Not so much in this barn series, that didn't come about yet, but in these interior space pieces, which are extremely difficult to work with. I mean, sometimes interior spaces can drive you nuts. However, let me use another sheet of paper here for what it's worth. One of the things about interior space, once that horizon line is set in, now notice. Let's use that hallway, for example, vanishing point. Come out of that thing. Change the tempo. Change the view. Come out of here. Bring that down. Bring the walls into play. Bring that over. Bring that over. And the vanishing point. Now, notice, really moving it around quite a bit here. Into this area. Extending that out. Back location. Finding the heights. Breaking that back. Coming in the barn door. In the glass. In the barn door. Notice, I see you're looking at that scale, kind of putting it all together here. Very loose little sketch here. And you can take that whole process and open it up. And once you've got that, you can take that bar wall, open it up, tighten that one down. Open that up just a bit. Bring that through, run that across. That's where the break is going to be. So I kind of bring that into the hallway. Then again, glass, door, wall, etc. Very interesting. Just breaking things down like that makes it so much less difficult to deal with because it takes the pressure off of us. I hope that little explanation helped a little bit here. I just want to let you see, oftentimes, I'll go through the process that I don't really describe it that much, but I'll be doing more of that in the next few weeks to come. Actually, back in the drawing cycle itself, less of some of the finished stuff we'll be dealing with here. So let me just get this out of the way. Thank you for that indulgence. Did that make sense, sir, gang? Demetrius, that helped at all to kind of show you what I went through in terms of process-wise to get the sketches laid out. And if you're still there with me, that is super, very good. Anyhow, looking good, gang. Let's go back here. Let's go back. Now, let's show you the final. Once they said, hey, we need some concept sketches on this barn study here. These are really fast, again, layout sketches. Notice a lot of construction lines going through to find out where I am here. But the primary overview, here's the auxiliary building, primary building, and an addition and another. Just, they wanted me to look at it, but at the same time, add some things that I felt might have been an asset to them. Here's an elevation study of that same barn process. So that was number one that we were dealing with here. That was the first sketch I did. Let me get these out of the way so it depends. These are all sent to them very quickly, and it's all going to be part of the presentation as well, from what I understand, when they make the presentation of the interior space. That was sketch one. Sketch two, on the variation on theme. For example, with this barn door, or this barn study, primary building, the auxiliary building, and then elevation looking right at it, for example, from the front, what that might look like. And sketch number two. Going back into here. There's a third study, a little bit less compound, much more of a cupola or a dormer up on top of the actual barn itself, which is kind of interesting to deal with. So I'm going to come back to that. It was the third study we did. Sketch number four. This one I thought was much more, much closer to what they're actually after, from my perspective, what they described was something that was very much in this realm here. Primary building, auxiliary one, and auxiliary two, the little breezeway and the connector to that side. This had a presence. This felt comfortable to me, and I'm sure. In fact, I'll tell you in a moment here what took place after this was submitted. So that was sketch number four, and on the sketch number five, little bit of a plan view here. This just shows you where the plan view was. This is the roadway coming through. This is what little plan view I just showed you a few moments ago. And again, a little quick study of what that might look like. And coming at the last study I did was number 6, where it was a little bit more elaborate in terms of where the entryway is. And coming out of this entry is still here, but there's an auxiliary building over here to move into the barn door, auxiliary with a breezeway, and so on. A little bit of a different format, but that's how it all came together. So to make a long story short, it was really interesting that when it was all said and done, let me just do it this way. When I submitted the sketches, they came right back with, we love, for example, concept number 4 and concept number 6. Those 2 were the winners. So they're good choices. Those are the things that I felt much more comfortable with. There's 4. Let's do it this way. There was 4, and there was number 6. So they'll be a part. All these sketches will be a part of that presentation they make to their management to build this place. And I'm hoping, for example, in fact, I was told, once they go through that first pass, I'm sure there'll be changes made. There'll be some configurations that'll come into play and make things a little bit more, some things differently, and that's fine. That's all part of the process. As you well know, from those guys who are in the design world, that's how it is. I think those things will come about. Not a problem at all to deal with those and to work with it in any way, shape, or form. But I think what I'm excited about is now it's all set, and I'm sure we're going to get at least maybe a second or third pass to work with them to refine this a little bit further. And hopefully, if they change their mind, wouldn't it be really cool if they change their mind to go from an in-house basement study where that first set of sketches were done and the color studies were done into a freestanding barn? That would give me the opportunity. I'm not being selfish here, so don't misunderstand. That would be an absolute glorious opportunity for me to work with them from an architectural point of view, develop the concept sketches for the barn, and work with an architect, and also the interior space as well. So it could be a lot of fun, gang. So I cannot thank you enough for taking the time today. And as I said earlier, over the holidays, we're running a busy time. Not just the holidays themselves, but during that whole time period, we had to change offices and we had to move all our equipment up, lighting, camera, desks. Oh my goodness, it was overwhelming, but we got it done. And while I'm on that subject matter too, I don't know if he's listening or not, but I want to put a shout out to Shadow Man, Michael Tees of IP Forge. The guy's an absolute genius. So he came in, he worked with me to put this thing together. Tremendous talent, enormous respect for he and his sidekick, Josh Baker. I want to take a moment to thank them for that. Really did an excellent job of putting this thing back in a hurry. Then we had to go through some testing work and et cetera. So it took some time. Then we also went back and really modified, looking at certain things to change, get into the YouTube process, which we are doing. It should be active here in the next week or so. And on that note, too, please take a moment, gang, to visit the drcontrast.com site. It's all new. It's a whole new format. And believe me, I think, again, to Michael Tees, cannot tell you how much I respect this man. We sat down with one another and he said, hey, you need to bring that tempo up on your website. The one you have, the old one is just way too cosmetic. He doesn't tell anybody what you do. And he was right on, spot on. And I'm not being critical of the person who put it together. I'm just saying it was just a very quick cosmetic piece to look at. But Michael came in, I worked with him for about maybe a week or two, getting some information put together. And what he did to that website is absolutely marvelous. So please take a minute and take a look at that. We're going to go, it's still all the pieces that were on the old site are still there. We're going to add a new shop. We've got a Shopify contract coming in. We're going to add some Pulsar work, some graphics, and all kinds of things. Everything from interior stuff to advanced Star Citizen stuff, automobile design work, T-shirts, etc. All that's coming, gang. So tune in there, please. If you get a chance to look at the site, please let me know what you think. It's just been a real joy to watch it all come together. So, and we'll be adding some more things to it. For example, we're going to start putting a gallery involved, like a montage of gallery work that I do. So it's still going to be active, but it's so much better all the way through. And I cannot thank enough these guys, especially Michael, who put together overnight amazing work. So all that to say that the drcontrast.com is alive, and we're kicking away at it and having a lot of fun. And it's just great to be back on board. You don't know how excited I am about being back in here. And maybe next Wednesday we'll start doing some sketch rendering stuff. I've got some things I want to do for Maserati, McLaren, some aircraft work, some empathic speed form stuff. I mean, we've got a whole list of things to kind of put together, and all that's going to go on our website eventually here. And so stay tuned. And to those of you who tuned in today, all of you, so grateful to have you on board. And thanks for taking the time here today, gang. And it's always customary for me to end up with a very simple commentary that please always remember, never forget to dare to be great, because you are. I mean, that's just great to have you on board. If you have any notes or things you want me to work on, I can help you with. Please drop me a note at jim@drcontrast.com. I'm more than happy to help you. Again, look at my website, drcontrast.com, and just let me know how you feel about certain things. And if you've got things you want me to work on, that's really helpful for me to kind of get your feedback on what we're trying to look at here. If there's things I can do from a structural point of view, from an educational point of view, everything from doing circles and perspective to basic perspective studies, how to break it all out, how to lay certain things in. Happy to help you all the way through. So once again, all of our best. Have a happy new year, and thank you to those of you who's tuned in today. Pass the word along that we're live and back at it again, and so great to be back in the chair, cranking away at it. And we'll see you next Wednesday about the same time frame, between 2:30, and we'll run for about an hour. So all the best, and again, dare to be great, because you are. Thanks very much, gang. All the best. Bye-bye.